entered the boiler room. UCY.TV, you're listening to live radio for the next 2 hours. It is Boiler Room Radio. I am your host of that 2-hour episode on Wednesday nights. My name is Jim Funke, and the guy over there in the easy chair is Lance Musser. Back to 100%, Mr. Lance Musser, ladies and gentlemen.
I say 95% because I'm just under perfect.
Just no, okay. Well, I don't have ever really achieved perfection in your life, man. Come on now. Pulling chains here right off the bat is just, no, I don't know. But he is all healed up, everybody. The hole is closing. He's no pain, no wick in the stuffing in the leg no more. He's back. He's back.
Yeah, officially last Thursday, a week ago tomorrow, I went back to the doctor, which I was hoping was my last visit. And I hadn't put a wick in it in the 2 days before that because it kept falling out. I couldn't get it in far enough, which meant, I guess, that it healed enough inside. Yeah, so it started closing up, and I couldn't get it in. She took one look at it and was like, oh, that looks good. We're just going to put a Band-Aid on it. You can go home. I was like, yeah.
Sweet.
Yep. So no limp.
You rock.
No hint, no hurt. A different doc. I had to go to I had to fight for a different doctor, but I got him. If you push on it, yeah, hold on, let me see. Yeah, if you push on it a little bit, it hurts, but...
Well, that's because you've got necrosis, dude. I mean, yeah, part of your muscle tissue was eaten away, so it's going to have to...
And the lymph nodes are still enlarged. They're still like... they're about the size of maybe walnuts now. I mean, small walnuts. The inside of a walnut. But going down, so I'm happy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And now you get stung by bees. So, I mean, you're just like batting 1,000.
Well, I planted sunflowers out in front of my front door. I planted about a dozen sunflowers. Mm-hmm. Well, apparently bees love sunflowers.
Oh, yeah.
And all I did was walk by them, and I accidentally hit one of the sunflowers. Oh, apparently, it attached to my shirt, came inside, was doing some stuff. Like a minute later, I feel a thing on my arm, and it's hurting. I look down, there's a damn bee stinging me.
Did you smoosh him?
Hell yeah, I did. Well, I hit it with my hand because I didn't know what it was. Then it went down on the ground, and then I stepped on it. So,
were you screaming like a little girl?
No.
Oh, okay. Just checking.
No, I wasn't.
All right. Speaking about screaming like little women, what's going on Wall Street?
Hold on. Let me check. Yep.
Smokers Market Minute.
Still being manipulated, so status quo is being upheld.
Right on. Did it go way up over 17,000 today?
No, it's down below, actually.
Oh, God. Jump out windows. Holy shit, the world's over!
I think it had a triple drop yesterday, but you had actually dropped me a video from Thor News, and if the listeners don't know who Thor is, when Ison was coming, that brother was putting out a video every day saying that we were going to end because it was going to hit us and everything else. But he did make a prediction a year ago that the S&P would be near 20,000, and it's closer to than a lot of people thought. So interesting perspective.
Mm-hmm.
This is odd, and that's the story. That's the title of the story.
I got to hang on just 1 second. I got to say something too about Thor and him making a video about the economy and blah blah blah. If Thor News, and this cat he makes films, he does videos for bands and stuff for a living. He's a producer. He's a semi-professional astronomer slash, who's he, what's it, out in space thing, right? He knows a lot about the solar system. He knows a lot about the cosmos. So this guy he's a well-versed, well-read young man. I'm guessing he's probably in his 30s, maybe mid-30s, just by giving him a look, If he is awake to the economy and how it affects everybody every day and putting videos out about it, then everybody should be. Just wanted to reiterate that point.
Yeah, and it's like the old meme, one of the most ignorant things you can say is, I don't follow politics.
Right.
Because you have to. That's what affects us. And so does this. But this was an interesting story, and it kind of explains how we got to the manipulation that we're at in a Reader's Digest version.
What? Manipulation?
I think it is. That's a rumor that I heard.
Okay.
One of the oddest things to happen with the stock market since it recovered, on paper, is that the number of shares trading hands each day has slowly disappeared. Trading volume on the S&P 500 has dropped 60% since 2009.
Whoa.
So what's happening? How can the stock market keep rising year after year if the trading volume is down? That's a good question, isn't it?
Ooh, I got it.
It's very simple. But I'll explain this new phenomenon in a moment. And then he puts a chart up here, which I can't. Chart doesn't play well on radio. Volume is collapsing because the number of shares that companies have outstanding is being reduced at an accelerated rate.
They're buying them back.
Yes! For example, in the first quarter of this year, S&P 500 companies purchased $154 billion, with a B, worth of their own shares on a stock buyback programs.
It's strategic manipulation.
Over the trailing 12 months, S&P 500 companies purchased more than $500 billion, so $500 billion, worth of their own shares back, to be exact. So now you have the S&P and you have the Dow, the stock market.
Right. And the NASDAQ.
Add to the shrinking number of shares outstanding the fact that the central banks have also been buying equities, and the number of shares to buy has really been sucked up. So, dear reader or listeners, we have a dire situation at hand. Companies on the key stock indices. Right. And I knew that. I just was looking at it weird. Are buying back their shares in bulk to make per-share earnings look better. And the central banks are buying stocks because they don't want to miss out on the returns. As this happens, retail investors are forced to bid prices higher as there's only a limited number of shares that can be traded. So what do you get as a result of this? Rising key stock prices. But when we look at the past, when we look through the past and the smoke and the mirrors, we quickly see that the fundamentals drive the key stock, like the S&P 500, are deteriorating because corporate earnings and revenues simply aren't growing. And then as interest rates rise, the companies will not be able to offset their lower earnings with stock buybacks because they'll be paying more on the interest that they need to borrow to buy their stock back in the first place. Mm-hmm. Isn't that that's a layman's term on how we've got it manipulated as we do?
Nobody's paying attention. And the people that are paying attention are like, hey, man, we can get really, really rich. Like Manarino. I mean, that's what he says consistently on his videos. We can take advantage of this market, people. We can take advantage of this market and get really, really rich in the process.
Well, and actually the quote that you had from Scott the other day is, if the stock market drops or doubles and the dollar drops in half, who wins but the Wall Street people? So
nobody.
There's a lot of people, probably somebody we know. The federal government says it made $100 billion, and that's with a B, in payments last year to people who may not have been entitled to receive them.
No way. The government is infallible, man. I don't believe this story. This must have come from...
Congressional investigators say the figure could be even higher. The Obama administration has reduced the amount of improper payments since they peaked in 2010, which was still his term. Still, estimates from the federal agencies show that some are wasting big money at a time when Congress is squeezing their budget. That's not Congress's budget, but the federal agency's budget that Congress is squeezing. Because Congress didn't lose any money. The improper payments include overpayments, underpayments, payments to the wrong recipient, and payments made without proper documentation. A House Oversight Subcommittee is holding a hearing on this issue this afternoon, because this was posted today. So I thought, we'll see what happens. I may have a follow-up on that.
They must still be behind closed doors talking about it. This has got to be something serious on their plate.
Could be. Chinese. We've talked about Chinese a lot.
Oh, yeah.
This actually puts real numbers on it. We've always said that it's high, but we've never really given a number. Well, now they're tracking it.
As to how much real estate they've bought?
Yes. A real estate agent in Arcadia, California, Henry Nuez, met with so many home buyers from China that he bought a Mandarin English translation app for his phone. The $1.99 purchase paid off.
You could have used that the other day when you were doing it.
Yeah, right. When he sold a 5-bedroom home with crystal chandeliers, marble floors, one designed for smoky wok cooking. The buyers were a Chinese couple who paid $3.5 million in cash.
In cash.
Last year, that same house would have been $2.8 million. So that's interesting.
How the hell did that happen?
Because the Chinese are coming and they're paying. The biggest driver is a lot of people.
Well, why the hell didn't they buy my house?
Here. Yeah, well, they didn't want to live in Rantoul. California is the place to be. As the Beverly Hillbillies said, California. Buyers from Greater China, including people from Hong Kong, Taiwan, spent $22 billion on U.S. homes in the year through March.
Just in 14.
Yep, up 72% from the same period in 2013. That's 24 cents of every dollar is being spent by an international home buyer.
Wow. 22 bill? Mm-hmm. Wow.
And Chinese buyers paid a median price of $523,000 per transaction, compared with the U.S. median price is $199,000. And then Canadians bought more houses than the Chinese, but they spent less at $215,000. California is the most popular destination for Chinese real estate buyers, according to Zhuwei.com, a Hong Kong-based property search engine. They bought 32% of the homes sold to foreign buyers in the state, double the share sold to Canadians, just in that state. About 70% of international buyers pay cash. That's pretty interesting. U.S. prices have climbed 26% because of this in the index of the 20 cities that they're really buying in.
Yeah, not mine.
No, you got to have a California zip code. So I thought that was pretty interesting.
I had to drop mine 20% to get it to sell.
Mm-hmm.
Fuckers.
And then Yellen, the minutes were out today on their thing, and she said if all goes as planned, the quantitative easing should be done by October, I think, by the October meeting.
Janet Yellen, you are a liar. You are lying through your tooth.
We already know that there's not that much in mortgages being done. So, I mean, it's, what they're doing in the bond market, buying them all up. I mean, it's just not there. And they're forcing it back on the public people. But there's a lot of talk about the bubble. And she's even said that it's not the Fed's job to pop bubbles, was her quote. And then most people took that as, to the moon, Alice. And then, the markets reacted to it. Mm-hmm. So be looking for some more conspiracy talk on the Fed's popping the bubble. That seems to be the talk on a lot of the King and everybody else that I'm looking at.
Mm-hmm. Sorry, had a text from my sister about my mom. Had to read it real quick.
Well, give us a quick update on that since you mentioned it.
They went to the neurologist today. You know, she's had 3 of those episodes since she's been gone to Chicago, which is 1 a week. And the neurologist up there at Oak Park General, which is where she went. I'm just going to go ahead and plug that hospital. I don't know anything about it, but that's where she was. They don't think that these are TIAs. They think that they're seizures, that she's having like mild seizures, and that's why she's just, you know, the eyes will go back in her head, and she just passes out and then comes back out of it later on, and there's no, you know, adverse effects like there was the first time she had one down here with the slow speech and the slow eye movement, and you know, that was an obvious TIA. So I don't know. I'm not there to witness these, so I'm just taking my sister's word at it. But they met with a neurologist today, and he said that that's what he thinks is going on. He's going to give it another look-see, and you know, they're going to talk some more or whatever. And she's got some in-laws that one of them's a doctor, and he's in geriatrics, and so they're going to talk with him, and we'll see what happens. But definitely a little off-putting, you know, not, you know, just not having her here to be able to see what's going on, to have it so far away. But that's okay. I mean, you know, we both needed a break from each other, so not really a whole lot of a break because I'm constantly texting and worrying, but it's okay. I hope she's having a good time with the kids. You know, they're going around doing baseball games and all that shit. So
the cycle of life is interesting. You know, the parents spend, or mom and dad spend especially mom, spend their whole lives worrying about us, and then, you know, as it reverses, we do all the worrying about them, and they're not worried about us anymore.
Nah, that's not true with my mom. She still worries about it.
Yeah, she still worries about it. And my mom still worries about me, too. So I mean, you know, but...
you're right about the cycle of life, though.
You do it in reverse, though, more so. You do the more the worrying.
Got anything else over there on the market?
You know, I wasn't going to do anymore, but there's one about the unprecedented lies that are being told to the public. And I just want to read this one because I thought this one was really good.
Yeah.
And this was on King World News. Today, a man who had been involved in the financial market for 50 years told King World News that unprecedented lies are being told to the public. His name is Embry, John Embry. Also discussed why governments are lying and what to expect going forward. I'm focused on the propaganda that is being laid on the public these days. There was no better example of this type of propaganda than a report I read over the weekend from the Associated Press, headline, "What is making the U.S. economy a world beater?"
What?
Yeah, that was in the Associated AP headline. I didn't read it, but
when did this come out?
It would have been last week or this past weekend because this article just came out.
Cow, man.
And here is the 5 factors that they cited: the increase in jobs by 288,000. But anyone who takes the time to examine these jobs would say that statistic is preposterous. 523 full-time jobs were lost, and part-time jobs surged by 840,000. My daughter has a part-time job. She would love to have a full-time job, but she can't get one. Employers don't want to give full-time benefits because they can pay next to nothing for part-time job. Employees don't get benefits. So the idea that a job is bogus. I'm interested more in incomes, and incomes are stagnant, particularly in the lower 70% of society, even as the prices of necessities is rising. Because you can't tell me they're not spending 30% more at the grocery store than they were last year, and I know they're not making 10% more than they were last year.
Right.
So the standard of living most people is falling, and the idea that the U.S. economy is a world beater is an insult to anyone with an IQ higher than a gerbil. The 6.1% unemployment rate they reported is truly laughable because the drop in the job participation rate in the United States, and we talk about this on the show all the time.
37-year high. Yeah, the jobless participation rate, if you want to call it that, is at a 37-year high. That means that there are more people out of work now than there have been in the last 37 years.
Back in the 70s when all the people were complaining about
gas prices and all that, when we had the oil embargo.
I'm much more in line with John Williams of Shadow Stats, where he says that about 22% of the U.S. working age population is unemployed. And we've said that too, or maybe even higher. So I think there's a huge problem in the system. And as a result, we are seeing the
40.
Yeah. We are seeing is the falsification of numbers and outright manipulation of markets to justify what is being falsely reported. And then Eric King says to him, John, you've been in the business for over half a century, and you have never seen this many lies being told to the public in the West, and particularly in the United States. He said there is no solution to the problems in the West. So they have decided that all they can do is lie to the public for as long as possible to try to put off the day of reckoning. They didn't have to do this when I was a youngster in North America. Things were terrific back then. The economy was growing, and there was opportunity for everybody. That's all gone. Robert Fitzwilson had an excellent piece on King World News over the weekend, and I read this. Most of the sovereigns issuing bonds in the West are essentially bankrupt, and if the economy imploded, they would be most assuredly bankrupt as they would default on their bonds. So the West keeps on printing more and more money, which will drastically increase inflation and probably accumulate in hyperinflation. In that event, the bonds won't be worth any more than toilet paper. The head
soft toilet paper.
Yeah, Charmin. The head of the Reserve Bank of India said they are going to sell into the domestic market the bank's gold reserves held in India and replace them in the international market by buying gold and depositing it at the Bank of England. Did you get that?
Yep.
That raised a red flag for me because in a world that is very short of physical gold, there's something about this that is trying to rectify the situation. Well, I dug into this further and found out that the head of the Reserve Bank of India received his PhD from MIT, taught at the University of Chicago, and then was the head economist at the IMF from 2003 to 2007.
He's helping out his buddies.
So this seems like a guy who is pulling the strings for the United States, and I'm very suspicious of this announcement. I think this highlights that, as James Turk has brilliantly noted, there is a growing shortage of physical gold, and the West is going to great lengths to attempt to get more gold into the market so they can continue to suppress the price.
Why do you think Germany can't get any of theirs back?
Gold and silver seem to keep bouncing back. I'm not prepared to say yet that we are out of the woods, but I agree that we are building toward the greatest short squeeze in history, and that was the thing. There are zillions of claims on what little physical gold remains in the Western world, and when the Ponzi scheme explodes, this is going to something to behold, especially when everybody tries to change it, cash in their paper gold, and it's not there. So that's my piece. I thought that was a good article about, another guy in the news for 50 years, in the financial markets 50 years, says these people are doing nothing but lying to you.
Lie, 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 lie. We would say it every week, 3 times a week.
It almost sounds like the Charlie Brown teacher after a while.
Yeah. Wah, 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 wah. Manipulation. How many different ways can you say manipulation?
Yep. Oh, and another dead banker.
No shit.
Yeah, him and his wife, but this just happened. Another dead banker, J.P. Morgan Chase. They were suicided. 45-year-old Julian Knott and his 47-year-old wife, Alita Knott, died of gunshot wounds. So were they the latest victim of a banker death epidemic, or
where were they found?
Random shootings.
You got any specifics, any particulars on that story?
The Knotts were affluent world travelers, and according, he worked at J.P. Morgan for several years, and then Global Network. No, it doesn't say where. But this was from V, the guerrilla economist.
Right.
Who's the very first one, that warned us that 35 of them would be dead, and guess what? They were.
Yeah. And there's many, many more that we probably don't know about.
Yeah.
Just to make the headlines,
And not surprisingly, representative of both their companies, their employers, have declined to comment on their deceased employees. You got to figure that one.
They got to check with the insurance company first.
Well, yeah, because they have one of those life insurance policies on their executives.
Yeah. J.P. Morgan does. Goldman Sachs does. Wells Fargo, Chase Manhattan.
Yeah, we did a big story about that.
Mm-hmm. to the tune of billions of dollars, I think.
Yeah, it is.
Okie dokie. Well, seeing as how it's Wednesday, Scott's taking the day off, and we're not going to have a hyper report. But
I thought he was Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
No, just Monday and Friday.
Oh, that's right.
But we'll jump over here and grab a Vice News. And hey, look, I muted the room like I was supposed to. And here goes Vice.
That Potter blog was a good one, too.
We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
It's Wednesday, July 9th, and here's some of the news beyond the headlines. Afghanistan's first democratic transition is looking anything but smooth. A day after preliminary results designated presidential contender Ashraf Ghani the victor, his opponent, Abdullah Abdullah, told thousands of supporters gathered in Kabul that he won last month's runoff. Both men have accused each other of ballot stuffing and voter intimidation. Observers fear that a standoff could plunge Afghanistan into chaos as most international forces withdraw from the country this year. Fighting between government-allied groups and rebels has forced thousands of people to flee a city in northern Yemen. The Red Crescent says 5,000 families remain trapped in Omran, located about 30 miles north of the capital, Sana'a. Shia rebels of the Houthi tribe have been battling government troops and other tribesmen since February, in a renewed bid to secure greater autonomy for their northern strongholds. The UN is calling for the U.S. to treat many of the Central American migrants pouring over the border as refugees who have fled violent criminal gangs. A change in status would make it difficult to deport or turn away tens of thousands of people who currently aren't eligible for asylum. President Obama on Tuesday asked Congress for nearly $4 billion to cope with the influx, which is straining both state and federal resources.
But they can't take care of our veterans.
Peruvian troops have discovered 2 hideouts of the Shining Path guerrilla group. Special forces arrested 2 suspected members of the group in Cusco during a raid on a warehouse used to store equipment, uniforms, and weapons. And further north in Junin, soldiers rescued 2 women and 3 children after fighting members of the group at a base in the jungle reportedly used to capture and train miners. The Shining Path has been linked to nearly 70,000 killings ever since it formed in 1980 with the goal of overthrowing Peru's government. Check out the Vice News YouTube channel for more original reporting and documentaries from around the world.
If I asked any Afghan what will happen to the interpreters after 2014, what would they say?
They'll tell you that none of them will be alive anymore. They have killed a lot of interpreters. Everyone knows. Everyone.
Which is the truth. Some of these interpreters over in Afghanistan that were working for the CIA wound up mysteriously dead, shot to death in their cars, blown up in their homes, victims of drone strikes. It's amazing how many of these interpreters wind up dead. And you got to wonder why. What are they hearing over there? What are they interpreting over there that no one wants them to talk about?
It sure is a big coincidence.
It is. That's going to be a very good Vice News clip. We might devote 15 or so minutes to it when it airs.
Yeah, I definitely have some stuff to say about all these refugees that we got now. Also,
yeah. Let's get through Manarino, and then we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about this Potter blog that just came out. How about that? Because it kind of goes together, the refugees and the Potter blog.
Yeah,
sound good?
That they do. Oh yeah, definitely.
All right, so 8 minutes, 7 minutes, 57 seconds. We'll see how far he gets before he starts drooling.
Hi, everybody. It's me, Gregor Manarino. How are you today? It is Wednesday, July 9th, 2014. Okay, people, lot of stuff going on here. We heard from the Fed today. We heard Fed minutes. And I really want to discuss that because it's very interesting. Before we even get there, let's start with this. The U.S. equity markets did finish higher today. I've been going over in the past couple of videos how I do believe this market is going higher and why. I said yesterday was a buying opportunity. I discussed specifically how I was playing that from a trader's standpoint. Again, I think this is going to play out pretty much like I said it's going to. I think the Dow, all of the major indices,
when's it going to crash?
Going higher.
Yeah, no shit.
And that will play into what I want to discuss about the Fed minutes today. But before I even get there, this is something I want to talk about that's kind of flying under the radar today. And it's super important but it's not getting any coverage because people have a very poor perception of what I'm about to tell you, and that is this. We found out that consumer credit, understand, they call it consumer credit, but it's consumer debt. Understand that. Consumer credit is continuing to explode to the upside. Consumers are burying themselves in debt. As a matter of fact, I think it's expanding at somewhere around 7.5%.
Gas and groceries.
Right.
In an environment here where we have negative GDP. Does that make any sense to you? Think about it. We have an economy that is going nowhere. Let me put a different perspective on this for you. We have a lot of pundits out there saying that the U.S. economy eventually, soon, is going to be expanding at 3%. It's not going to happen. And even if it were to happen, if we have consumers burying themselves at a rate twice that, more than twice that, we have a bubble in consumer credit or consumer debt. Again, they try to spin the word in. Consumer credit doesn't sound so bad, but if you say consumers are burying themselves in debt at more than twice the rate of GDP, that sounds a little scary, doesn't it? Interestingly enough, there's another twist to this. For months and months now, we've been hearing how the consumer is weak. Consumer is weak.
We can't afford to fucking eat.
So we have a weak consumer. Consumer spending is down here, but the consumer is burying themselves in debt.
Trying to stay afloat.
What does that tell all of us out here? It must mean that
spending money that they
borrowing
can't
cash
make
simply to get by. And that's what I believe is happening, because consumers were actually borrowing cash and then spending it. We would see this reflected again in the reports regarding consumer spending, but that's not happening. So what this tells you and me, it should at least, is we have an ever-expanding issue with a bubble, once again, in consumer credit, consumer debt. The crash of 2008 was a credit bubble. It's being reinflated by a runaway Federal Reserve.
That's funny. I mentioned that too.
The minutes here.
I'm telling you, he listens to our show.
Get a grasp on.
He listens to our show.
So, according to the Fed minutes today, the Fed will be ending their quantitative easing program. That means they're claiming that they're going to end the taper or whatever it is in October. Understand,
October.
There's no taper. There's never been a taper. There cannot be a taper. And I've been over the reasons why. Forget about people like Steve Leisman. This man has clearly been drinking too much of the Kool-Aid here. I mean, it's a fact. Let me go over just a couple of things here so we can understand the perspective on this. Just prior to the Fed's minutes today, the Dow Jones Industrial Average was hovering up about 40 points. The Fed minutes came out a very short while later. The Dow started to climb. As a matter of fact, the Dow finished up about 80 points, so a 100% gain after the Fed minutes came out. Very interesting, wouldn't you say so? Despite this supposed taper, which is not happening. Market participants understand, believe me, that there is no taper. And you can see this reflected in the several ways, and I've gone over them. Let me outline them real quick. Number one, the bond yields. We would see this reflected in the bond yields.
Right, he talked about this yesterday, or Monday. The bond yields would show, and we're going to go ahead and squash this, man, because he's just repeating himself from previous episodes, and I just wanted to make sure that there was anything new from the Yellen factor and anything else so that he got to it. So I guess okay.
Yeah, he was right on point again.
Yep. Said everything you said.
Yeah. Is it wrong that I kind of want him to lose some money on stocks every once in a while?
I do too, man. Just to,
I hope he's wrong every once in a while. And
he doesn't need to have a new oil change in his hair every week. He doesn't have to go out and buy new shirts and be monochrome tie, and he could stand to drive a Yugo for a little while instead of a freaking BMW. He needs to eat some crow. Just cause, I don't know. Anyway, moving on. We're going. Oh shit! I forgot. Sorry. I actually dropped out of my YouTube and went over to Twitter already. We're going to talk about this Potter blog thing. Go ahead and throw your deal out about the refugees. Let's hear your 2 cents worth on that.
Oh man, I volunteered at
the USO. The illegal aliens.
I volunteered, and I'm talking about the children kind of one. So I was volunteering at the USO because I do that every month for a couple hours on Tuesday nights.
What a guy.
I am a guy. I'm a veteran, so, I hang out at the USO and staff it so our soldiers can sit there as they're waiting on their flights. And they always have CNN on. Always. And, I never changed channels because Wolf Blitzer was on. Man, that guy is drinking. You want to talk about drinking Kool-Aid? This guy is on so much Kool-Aid. He was interviewing, he was talking about the Palestine conflict, Gaza, interviewed only Israeli people, just it was all on their side, never interviewed the Gaza side. Okay. But they had this lady on there that was talking about the kids, and she was from the Health Interior or something like that. But they were talking about all these refugees and the problem that we're having, and it's a, epidemic. And she sat there and said 80% of these kids are getting sent back.
They're not refugees. If you're talking about people that are coming into the United States right now, they're not refugees because we are not at war with Mexico, and these people are not Mexicans. Refugees
Honduras and all
jump
these
a
other
border
ones
to get away from a war. Okay, now if they were just refugees, they could be refugees in Mexico. For them to make it all the way to the U.S. border, they are being bussed up here. They're being shipped up here.
And to get that many people and that many shipment containers, everything else, that has to be a coordinated.
Yeah, there's some logistics going on there. There's some people tying flights up. There's some people getting, buses rented, leased, signed, whatever. That's what's happening. So, Lance, I heard you drop off, I think. That's why I took over talking. Hello, Lance Musser. Lance Musser. Nope. Okay, it's trying to connect back to him. He'll grab up here in a minute. We're going to go ahead and throw this Potted Blog video on here, and this is the first one that's been out from Pissing on the Roses blog in quite a while. So I'm thinking that this might be, well, actually, I watched it a little earlier today, and it is pretty urgent. Heads up, people. Heads up. Listen to this.
Possible pandemic alert. Potted Blog site, July 9th, 2014. The Defense Logistics Agency, U.S. military, is in an all-out rush to get flu vaccine by August. They've put out a no-bid contract they awarded last week, notified the public about today. They cite real harm and unusual and compelling urgency. Now, a lot of information in this contract is redacted, meaning it's secret. But you have to ask, well, why are they releasing this? What all of a sudden out of season is making them want flu vaccine in a bad way? Well, there was a report in The Blaze on June 24th about a young illegal immigrant child from Central America who was diagnosed with swine flu, and they had to ship 2,000 vaccines to Lackland Air Force Base to treat people who may have been exposed. Well, based on this contract award, the secret nature, the unusual and compelling urgency, and this statement that the government faces real harm from not getting this delivery. The absence of timely delivered vaccine, the government faces real harm and expense. So it seems clear that the U.S. military sees a real threat of a severe influenza pandemic resulting from these massive border crossings and the pandemic breeding grounds surrounding detention camps on military bases. Of course, the risk is not limited to just the military. The procurement contract also states, the use of this authority is necessary because the current supplier of the subject vaccine is unable to meet all the technical requirements of the vaccine, redacted. So they're having manufacturing difficulties with this vaccine. This means that there's going to be a strong potential of a shortage coming up in flu season, which usually starts around October. And that's the other reason why the Army's wanting to get out ahead of this. Not just the Army, excuse me, the entire Defense Department. So we expect that there will be a shortage of flu shots. And we also suspect that the available flu shots may not be up to quality standards. Now, a lot of people have problems taking flu shots anyways, and we see
some people die.
There's more risk in the shot than potential aversion of risk of taking the shot. But if a lot of people don't get the shot, then there's a lower amount of herd immunity for the country. Now, there's another very interesting aspect about this, and it's the illegal alien aspect and the stigmatization of special populations. And this is why you need to be concerned about this, because there's a lot of political correctness going on in this that is going to basically keep the authorities from wanting to tell you what's happening until it's too late. Now, there's been a recent online pandemic influenza training module put out by the CDC. 27% of the CDC's pandemic course, and you can take this course online, and we have a link to it in our source material. 27% of the pandemic course is solely about stigmatization of, quote, special populations. Now, the CDC has two plans of attack regarding the stigmatization of special populations and spreading pandemic influenza. One, raise awareness and understanding among the dominant group about the stigmatization, or two, and this is the scary one, wait for the pandemic to become so pervasive in the dominant group that eliminates the distinctions by race, ethnicity, profession, or other identifiable characteristics.
Did you hear that?
Now, this is an actual screenshot of that pandemic training. And if you read right down here, it says exactly that. Wait for the pandemic to become so pervasive in the dominant group that it eliminates the distinctions by race, ethnicity, profession, or other identifiable characteristics.
Sit back.
So by default, it seems the initial reaction for public health authorities is to choose political correctness over human lives. Also in that regard, very recently, the U.S., Canada, and Mexico have entered into a pandemic agreement to ensure that the signatories strive to share pandemic information with each other prior to sharing it with the public.
Well, I'm sure Mexico told us all about these immigrants coming over here.
It says, the declaration indicates that these countries intend to exchange with each other statements and plans pertaining to health emergencies before releasing them to the public. So as it stands, the Defense Department is prepping for an influenza pandemic related to all these illegal border crossings, and indications are that if such a pandemic does occur, the public will not be informed in time to take useful precautions. Now, we expect that a pandemic outbreak is most likely to start in the camps where the Department of Homeland Security is concentrating illegal aliens. You know, it's not just that these people have H1N1 swine flu, because in a lot of these regions, especially south of the equator, it is their flu season down there, and H1N1 swine flu prefers heat, it seems. But it's that they're concentrating these people in basically in illegal alien camps. So if you look at what's going on,
FEMA camp.
Prime among the high-risk disease locations is Los Fresnos, Texas, where the Department of Homeland Security has just sent 50,000 toothbrushes, shirts, shoes, bras, and panties. Now, we discussed that in some detail on a blog post right before the 4th of July. And we have a link to this, too, and we'll give you all the information. In fact, we warned you that all of this mass migration and stuff was coming back in February based on another document that the Department of Homeland Security put out in January. But here's a Google map of the detention center in Los Fresnos, Texas. Now, the site has its own airfield for basically Con Air, if you will. And we'll zoom in on a detention camp. Now, this detention camp only holds 1,200 people, 300 in each one of these concentration cells here. But, so why are they ordering 50,000 toothbrushes? At one point, they actually even put in an order for 1 million miniature shampoo bottles, although they backed off slightly off that. So with that type of concentration of people in that type of camp setting, doesn't take much for swine flu to become pervasive and just blast on through that and potentially start a pandemic. So those are the real major concerns about what's going on here. And the fact that the government is not going to tell you because of the political correctness aspect. So here we list all the source information. We suggest you take this pandemic influenza training so you can see exactly what the government's saying and what their concept of operations is in regards to telling people on how to handle it. But if you're in any way concerned about a flu pandemic, this contract award has all the earmarks that they know something has gone very badly wrong.
Very badly wrong.
I got a question.
Yeah, go ahead. You back there in the third row?
Yeah, I'm on my phone. For some reason, the computer Skype is acting up. So I restarted the computer. We'll see what happens.
Oh,
but then I walked out back, smoked a cigarette, and forgot to restart it. So
right on.
By him talking about the flu, the vaccination, for one, I'm sure all these people will be vaccinated. Wouldn't you agree? I mean,
everybody coming over the border?
Everybody coming over that they've got in these FEMA camps. I think now that's why they may have built them. It may not have been for us Americans, dissidents or whatever.
Yeah, we're getting ready to step off into that. But yeah, I'm sure that the reason that they have the swine flu is because they took some vaccines down there in Guatemala or wherever they came out of. And yeah, now that they've crossed over in the United States, then we'll probably smack them with 30 or 40 different things in the arm. Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm. And, you know, by him saying,
Obamacare.
Well, he was talking about the flu vaccine, and he said, you know, enough people will get it, so it'll be good. I mean, isn't that kind of admitting that it works then? If half the population has it, then it keeps it under control for the rest of them that don't get vaccines. So isn't that kind of admitting that it works? I just point that out.
No.
But before I got cut off the air, and then that lady on CNN said 80% of those kids are going back because they don't meet the definition of humanitarian, you know, danger that they were in or stuff. And they're trying to advertise to the parents in these countries that, hey, you send your kids with these smugglers on this dangerous trip over here. They're not staying here. They're coming back. I mean, that's what she was saying on CNN last night.
That's CNN, and that's a mouthpiece
propaganda.
Propaganda for the for the government.
Yeah, they want to be acting big on mainstream media, so the Joe Blow that's against all this is going, yeah, that's right, send them all back, and then never, investigates any other story on it.
He doesn't go and click on his computer and see the videotape of the train loads of aliens coming over the border. And
all we're hearing is, oh, don't worry, they're getting sent back.
Yeah, go back to sheep.
Mm-hmm.
Roll over and go back to sheep.
Yep.
Okay, so let's let me do this before we go on any farther. If anybody else wants to join in on this conversation, because maybe we'll try to drag this out as long as we can. It's a pretty big thing right now in the alternative news wire. So 718-717-8296 or UCY.TV. I'm on the network tonight. This is the 2-hour show. We've got another 42 minutes or 62 minutes, 82 minutes to fill.
No.
What?
72.
72, excuse me. I'm sorry.
I knew you'd get it right one time.
Yeah, well, I'm just kind of bouncing around trying to think of something to say. But anyway, 718-717-8296 or UCY.TV we'll add in here, and let's talk about this immigration stuff. Because they're not refugees, they're immigrants, and I personally don't think we need to be paying for them. $4 billion. What about our veterans that are dying, waiting to get in to see a doctor? What about that?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
$4 billion.
Oh yeah, it's amazing how you can give the foreign aid and everything. Yeah, exactly.
Why didn't you take some of the money that you've already sucked out of our wallets and build the goddamn fence like you were supposed to build? It's only got 17 miles finished, completed. How long have you been doing that? Since the mid-'90s.
Yeah, I was going to say for a long time. I saw the press conference today with Obama when he was down there in Texas with Governor Rick Perry.
When he was playing.
Yeah, he's down there. No, I didn't see that. He was in the press conference. He was doing his speech. But it was all the fence would be done by now, except it's being held up by Republicans and yada yada. They get their act together, and we'll have this fence done next week, or we'll start on it next week, or so. I can't remember what he said. Finish it off next week, and I'm just sitting there going, and people believe this crap. But the detention
For
centers,
decades, man.
you and I were talking about that, and with all these people coming in, that's where they're being held, is at the FEMA camps that Jesse Ventura and everybody else says, Alex Jones, Adam Kokesh, I mean, everybody's exposed, these FEMA camps, and that's where they're all being held. I mean,
pick those three names. You
well,
just had to pick those three names. Out of all the names on alternative media, you had to pick those three names.
Well, that was just my point, is even as backwards ass as they are, they're even talking about it. So, I mean, there's plenty of other people, too. But, maybe they were built for all these refugees and not necessarily you and I. Or
Well, then but I followed you up with that. They're probably built for them in the initial run, right? Because they are already turning some of these people out into the populations. They're sending them off to the family that they've got here in the States, and who knows all what. Adopting the kids out to, big left families that want to come in. Come on, we got plenty of love and money. Come on.
The vaccination with the RFID chip in it already.
Right, so they can follow them around the United States or Canada or wherever the hell they turn them loose again, and then once the pandemic starts and they start spreading this virus to thousands and thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of people, and the people get scared shitless because they watch their neighbors fall over dead in the middle of the street because of this outbreak of this unknown kind of willy-nilly virus, then they're going to be running for the FEMA camps because the government will put out shit on the air and on radio and say, come to the FEMA camps, it's protected here, no virus is inside, blah, blah, blah. There you go. And all the sheeple will just run to the FEMA camps.
Oh, that asshat that you did the story on last week that developed that strain of virus, kept working at it until it was incurable.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be a good one to let out.
Yeah, I'd like to stick him with that shit. I'd like for him to be the first test subject.
Yeah, right.
See if this works, man. Here, bend over. Right in the keister.
I think I can get back on this with my computer.
All right. I'll wait for you. 718-717-8296, UCY.TV. Let's talk about this. Let's talk about this immigration thing. Let's talk about these people coming over the border. I've got the phones wide open. UCY.TV is wide open. If you want to add into the call, come on. 718-717-8296. Lance is actually going to add back in here in just a minute when he gets on his PC.
Oh, man.
Oh, hey, wow, that was quick, man.
It was seamless.
Seamless. Very nice. You sound much better. You don't sound like you're calling from Afghanistan in a cave. So.
Well, it's the iPhone there.
So, tell me what else you think, man. I mean, where do you think these kids came up with scabies and H1N1? And,
the more and more I thought about it, the logistics involved, and that's what somebody actually brought up on mainstream media, believe it or not. And that's when I was sitting there and had nothing to do for a couple hours. But that guy even brought it up. He was like, do you really think that you'd be able to transport that kind of people, gather up that many kids at one time and just move them all over the period of, a couple weeks or whatever it's been? But they're coming in by triple busloads every couple days. So
plane loads. They're landing plane loads and loading them onto these buses. These DC-10s that are coming in and 727s, and they carry 300 people.
The NSA is listening to every conversation on the planet. Why can't they stop these guys before they get here?
Because they set up the fucking planes. Come on. This is part of the agenda. Jules, help me out here. You talked about this earlier today on your show. Come on, add in for 2 minutes. Give us your 2 cents. I know I see you in the chat room chatting away. You got time to add into the call, please? Come on. Let's hash this out a little bit. Mike, SLC Mike, call in. Hecty, tell Tech to get out of bed and add into this conversation. Let's talk about this whole refugee thing, because this is some serious business, people. Whether or not you want to pay attention to it, that's entirely up to you. But these viruses that some of these people are coming over the border with are, super viruses. They're going super virus. They're mutating before you can come up with a vaccine. Vaccines don't work any fucking way, but you know what I mean? This is serious business. So 718-717-8296, UCY.TV, call in, add your 2 cents into this conversation. Let's hear what you got to say about this. It affects us all. You're paying for it, by the way, with your tax money. $4 billion. Lance?
No, I mean, I agree.
Tech, what do you got to say, brother?
It's baffling.
Go ahead.
It's baffling me.
Yeah. Why now? Why all of a sudden now?
Oh, why bring it up to a head in public now?
Well, no. Where the hell did all these people come from? Why all of a sudden now? I haven't heard of any, huge outbreak of war down in Guyana or wherever the hell they're coming from, Guatemala or the South Mexico or what the hell's going on down there? Was there a big tornado outbreak or something? Was there a comet strike?
Venezuela, all that little area. Think of all those areas and plus the chop shop homes earlier in the year. Think of that. They expected that was going to happen with people in those areas. And then destabilize the whole region up there? What do you expect would happen? But then there's
so now they're going to come over to the border here, and they're going to overwhelm the healthcare system in this country because they're going to be headed to the hospital by the thousands.
They already are, and they've been doing this probably about the last 40 years.
Not like this, man. Not 50,000 some odd people in a few weeks. Not like this. Not like this. Not our government hasn't been bussing them in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they've been busting them in every week for the last 2 years, nonstop.
Well, you have to show me something on that. I mean, I haven't seen that.
But that's some serious logistics. I mean, you got to think that this is being...
Oh, yeah.
That there's a racket for this. I mean, it's got to be some governments are involved.
Yeah, it's probably the same guys that are loading up all the heroin on the planes and shipping it over here from Afghanistan, right?
I'll plus this now. Certain people in central nations make a few bucks off this either way. Now I know Chuck covered some of this as well when it comes to some of the immigrants as well, or some of the people that actually have came up.
Yeah, you still in the chat room, Chuck? You want to add into the call, brother? Just let me know. I'll add you in. We'll get your 2 cents worth. I want to know how the baby's doing anyway. I haven't talked to you for a little while. I've been kind of awake from the computer unless I was talking on my microphone. So, 2 years, Hecty. They've been bringing these people over for 2 years.
Probably longer, but I know with my brother, when he was in the military and all, it's like if you want to get in the military as an immigrant and all, you can get your citizenship a lot faster that way.
Right. Well, yeah, I got that. I mean, I know they've been down in Central America recruiting and stuff. I did a show on that actually. Asking them why are you doing that? Why are you guys trying to bring illegals into the military? Because they're expendable. They're a lot more expendable than say someone in the U.S. because they don't have parents that are going to bitch and call on the phone every 30 minutes. And
no, they're more moldable.
Well, no, the whole. Well, yeah, but the whole point behind the story that I read that came out of it was some documentary I saw on YouTube was that these kids were expendable. They would get killed overseas.
It's like
they would ship their body back home to their parents. Their parents would have to pay for the funeral. The government wouldn't even pay for the funeral. And then when the government tried to get any benefits or anything, they were like, "He wasn't a citizen. Sorry, he didn't finish his tour out. Well, sorry."
Okay, it reminds me, but here's the areas that I know of that these kids are being shipped off from, Africa and also South America, that are going up underneath there, from what I've seen. There was a little article recently, I'm trying to remember. It talked about how all these bankers were making bank and all that, and they were just cashing out while these people where it's just like a big distraction on everything, just while all these people are being brought in for a few different reasons, just as experimental guinea pigs in some forms, I should hate to say it, to test very many things in different aspects, but yet also covering, and also to cover while these guys are moving around a lot of money. You'd be surprised how much cash flow went up over the last 4th of July weekend.
Yeah, we're kind of getting off the subject now, but I mean...
but sorry, I'm being off.
Well, I'm just, I want to talk about this immigration thing. I really want to talk about this immigration thing. I can't believe nobody else has added into this call. Do you people not give a shit that all these people are coming across the border and bringing all kinds of fucking diseases with them and shit that's going to spread all over our country? Do you really, the UCY chat, are you really that apathetic to this that you're not going to even call my show?
But there was a Schoolhouse Rock video that I saw that I grew up on in the 70s that said we were the melting pot and immigration, is what built this country and everything else. So
that's back when people actually stood in line and devoted themselves to becoming an American citizen, right? They studied the Constitution, they took the tests, they stood up with their hand in the air, and they were proud to be a citizen, right? They disbanded from their old country and they turned themselves into an American citizen. Those were the people that built this goddamn place.
Yeah, right? I agree with you.
So
it's like when they changed the immigration policies around the 50s. That's where shit started to fan, really, in some forms or another. You'd be surprised.
I don't know. Being told that UCY is offline.
It's online to me.
Well, yeah, but you added through the UCY.TV, so I mean that was easy for you. I guess the phones, the 718-717-8296 number, is no longer working until son of a bitch. Well, okay, I take it back, chat room. You're not a bunch of apathetic humans. Imagine the phone was trying to ring off the hook, and you just couldn't get added into the network. So, crapola. Anybody that's on the network, Chuck said he'd add in here a little bit. He's chewing on some food. I reckon he's got to try to eat when he can, in between burpings and feedings and diaper changes. So, but I definitely want to get him added in here. I want to find out how Frankie's doing.
Yeah, I got some other stuff too. And there's that developing story right now. Those police are in a standoff down in Houston. That 7 shot, 5 are dead near Houston. A mass shooting suspect not in custody. Dude, I'm watching the live feed on it, and they just had a SWAT vehicle that's run over the hood of another vehicle, and they're in a standoff right now.
Oh shit! Where's this at? Houston. Right
outside of Houston, yeah. Wow. All you got to do is Google the mass shooting in Houston. I'm sure you'd be able to get all kinds of live stuff on it, but that's happening right now. It was at the National Guard Armory in Houston. There was a mass shooting at the National Guard outpost there.
Holy crap.
Yeah, and I saw it right before we came on air. I just saw the blurb happen at rolling across CNN because I was trying to get my daily sheeple fill. And I saw that going on. Do you see it?
No, I haven't Googled it yet. I'm actually looking at the 3 dead from Typhoon Neoguri. As it went across. Yeah, that's so far. Yeah, so far 3 are dead, and it's still rolling across the continent, I think.
And I also wanted to mention the Iron Dome.
Oh, yeah.
And get your
Jules went over that this morning, too, on her show.
Did she? Okay, yeah. I saw it yesterday. I watched the video on it.
She was like, I know we're paying for this.
Wow.
And she played
Why
a video.
doesn't everybody have this?
No, what? It only hits 30% of the goddamn missiles that go over it.
Well,
they missed 7 out of 10.
More than that, does it?
Yeah. Jules went over that whole thing on her on the show this morning on Before the First Cup. And we're paying for that shit, man. That's $50K a shot.
Well, they showed video of a wedding that was going on, a Jewish wedding that was going on, and then one of those things, the Iron Dome rockets, got fired off, and it did blow it up. But it doesn't hit the rocket; it just explodes right next to it to destroy it.
Throw shrapnel out, right?
Right,
to knock it apart.
Cool. But if you watch the demonstration of it, the way the computer calculates,
anti-aircraft is all it is. $50,000 a rocket, though, man, and we're paying for that shit.
Which is cheap when you really think about it. I mean, for a rocket, that is pretty cheap. When you look at what a Scud missile, the Patriot batteries to kill off the Scuds cost.
Those were $160,000 or something.
Right.
Yeah, so and the ones that they fly, the Tomahawks and stuff, those are a couple $1 million a piece, and the little Raytheon rockets that the F-16s fire at each other, the little air-to-air guided missiles, those are probably $290K or a little more. I don't know. That's inflation's gone up since then, so I don't know, but it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I mean, bigger, better ways to kill more humans. What the hell is with that? These rockets at the Gaza that are coming out of Gaza don't even hit any goddamn thing. They put holes in roads and shit.
Well, this Iron Dome only hits rockets that are on a trajectory to hit a protected area in Israel.
Whatever.
But I mean, it's a pretty badass thing.
Okay. Why are they firing? Why are they firing at these? Why aren't they firing at the houses on the hills? The overlooks, the settlement houses. Why aren't they firing rockets at them? Because they're right across the fence line. They could hit them with fucking slingshots.
Well, I don't know. I don't know why everybody's on. And they keep saying Hamas and Gaza are the ones attacking them, and Israel's just defending herself. But
whatever. Yeah, they're just they're so beat up on.
Yeah.
I'd like to see us give the Palestinians the money that we give Israel for 1 year. Just swap it. Don't give Israel shit, and give the Palestinians all the money that we used to give Israel for 1 year, just 1 year, and see what happens.
I know. We kind of backdoored through
all the aircraft and all the training and all the weapons and the body armor and the fucking tanks and the nuclear weapons and everything that we give to Israel for 1 year. Let's give it to Palestine and see what they do with it. Because in that 1 year, they would squash Israel.
Well, from everything I've seen, they're getting ready to go at it. I mean, it doesn't seem
ISIS said they're going to attack. ISIS said they're going to attack them. They're threatening to go into Israel.
Yeah. I mean, ISIS also threatened us and said if we attack anybody in Iraq, they're going to hit every embassy.
And guess what? What did I say? What did I talk about? Hang on, I got the piece of paper over here on my gun cabinet. When was that? 5/13/2014. 5/13/2014. I actually took a piece of that. I took a picture of that piece of paper that I taped up on my gun cabinet because I wrote that on that day, and I tweeted that picture out to everybody on the planet that sees my Twitter, and it said that that's the day that the United States ordered explosives and shipped them to all of the embassies in these hot zones.
Yep.
Imagine that. And now we hear that the Islamic State is going to attack our embassies. Imagine that.
Because we're going to get involved in Iraq.
Can you connect those dots, anybody?
Well, yes, that's what we need for the American sheeple to get behind attacking another nation unprovoked. Well, quote-unquote unprovoked. Just like 9/11. They need another 9/11. Well, 10 embassies going up at the same time would do that. That'd create the same sympathy.
Yeah. I wonder how many foreign dignitaries are going to get killed. How many of you guys that wanted those overseas posts so bad are really clamoring to get on the C-130 and fly back here, no matter how bumpy the ride?
And see, with bombs and not being attacked like Stevens at Benghazi, then the government won't face as much criticism because they were just bombs that blew up and then nobody attacked them, shot at them after that. So then they don't have to face the criticism.
It was Al-Qaeda. Oh, no, I'm sorry. It was ISIS.
So now what are we going to call him? Is that what Billy Clinton meant back in the day when he said, it all depends on what the definition of is?
I did not have sexual relations.
I did not wear a James Bond replica watch when I was doing that caliphate speech.
This is just a joke, man. I can't believe that all of this is being perpetrated on the American people, and they're eating it up. The most of the sheep out there are just eating it up. They, the constant lies coming out of Washington. Every time Barry opens his mouth, it's just blah, 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 blah. Same bullshit over and over and over and over. I don't get it. I don't get it. Why it's not sinking in. Why these people aren't going.
Propaganda.
Hang on a minute. Wait. Whoa. Bullshit.
The propaganda machine is, it's been perfected and honed.
Really? This isn't 1940, brother. This is 2014.
And guess what? All you're seeing is you post a picture of a meme of a cat, you get 35 likes. Post something about Palestine or corrupt government, nobody even looks at it. Nobody likes it. They all read it and they know it, but they're like, the kittens are prettier.
I don't know, man.
There's too many of them that aren't like us.
something's got to change, dude. You know, what else can we do? I mean, do we got to go rent some airtime on TV during, I don't know, Saturday afternoon cartoons or something to try to get, you know, the word out, to connect the dots for these people, to slap them around with a little bit of reality, or, you know, what's it going to take?
As long as they believe voting makes a difference, you're never going to get to them.
Is it going to take an outbreak? I mean, are we going to have to see a potential outbreak in, I don't know, what, 10, 15, 20 American cities? Something that's going to kill. Hey, Hecty, easy on the keyboard, man. I don't know if you've got your headset plugged in or whatever, but damn, dude, I can hear every single keystroke you're making.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's why we do headsets. We're broadcasting.
Yeah, that is a headset, sorry.
Is it? Because
yes.
Usually when you plug them in, you can't hear that panging away, man, and it doesn't sound like a headset to me. It sounds like you're talking on your desktop mic or, you know, on the computer mic.
No, not even. Sorry.
Okay.
I'll probably have to adjust that later.
Hey, to jump back over to your immigrant thing, thing, when we were talking about pandemics of diseases and stuff, the article came out today about smallpox maybe being discovered in an abandoned 1950s U.S. lab in the vials. Did you see this yet?
No.
U.S.
Oh, yeah. They were like in some kind of storeroom or something.
U.S. health officials are investigating whether old vials found in a laboratory storeroom contained live smallpox virus, one of the most dangerous diseases known to man, and how they came to be abandoned. The vials, dating from 1950s, were found July 1st as workers prepared to move a Food and Drug Administration laboratory from Bethesda to the agency's main campus in Silver Springs. Labeled variola, the genus name for the virus, the vials were sent to the Centers for Disease in Atlanta, where they tested positive for smallpox DNA. The agency said today in a statement, because this came out today. Except for repositories at the CDC and a government lab in Russia, the virus is believed to be eliminated worldwide. The discovery in a storage room at the National Institute of Health campus follows an incident at the CDC last month when scientists were inadvertently exposed to live anthrax.
Mm-hmm. I remember we did the story on that.
Yep. The CDC is actively investigating the history of how these samples were originally prepared and subsequently stored in the FDA laboratory. Tests are underway to determine if the viruses in the vial are alive, and later the samples will be destroyed. So don't worry, no problems there. The last case of smallpox was in 1949, and the last case in the world was 1972, when routine vaccinations ended. But we maintain a stockpile of vaccines sufficient to inoculate every American in the event of an outbreak or an attack employing the virus, according to the CDC. Funny how they mention that.
I think they used smallpox as a weapon back in World War II, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they saw what that happened. And chlorine gas, I mean, you know, there's all kinds of nasty shit out there, man. And DARPA's been going crazy. And some, you know, we talked about, last week?
Oh,
that Japanese Kokahuma, whatever.
Yep.
Designed that thing to kill. And the Ebola virus, we've been talking about that for weeks now. The Ebola virus, that was definitely a man-made virus. Even the first outbreak of Ebola was from a lab. It was man-made. It's right there on Wiki. All you got to do is look it up.
Yeah, it's like how that dengue fever they spotted down in Brazil was a little bit of a Monsanto creation, or traced back to.
Well, you said Ebola. I had actually read a thing on the Daily Sheeple. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. 50 more cases of Ebola have been reported this week, and a further 25 people have died in what is the largest, most widespread outbreak of Ebola ever to date. And this article came out today on the Daily Sheeple.
Yeah, it was the largest outbreak last week, too, because it's just steady killing folks. I think the mortality rate's down to like 72% now or something, but it's still high.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's gonna probably fizzle out soon.
The World Health Organization is telling them, prepare for a worldwide outbreak. I don't think we can stop this thing. They're telling Europe, look for people on planes, flying in that got this shit. If they come in from anywhere, just look, because the thing can stay alive on the plane for a week, right? I mean, the virus itself could stay alive on the plane for a week.
It's like, they could probably stay in there 2 weeks maybe at most.
Yeah.
But it's like how pilots in the U.S., for example, have been forced to, I'm trying to remember, this was a few years back, if I remember right, they had to report anything, even if it's like a cold or something like that. They've had to keep an eye. That's why all this heightened security to keep out people like with this Ebola.
Yeah, the American government is actually telling France and Germany and all the big airports over in Europe to beef up their security when it comes to possible pandemic type situations.
Only on U.S. bound flights, though.
Right. They're only concerned about flights coming into the U.S. So what that's like telling everybody overseas to, just don't worry about it unless it's coming here. If it's landing in your place and staying there, that's cool. But don't worry about it. Don't let it come on a plane here.
There's been 844 cases since February. That's according to the World Health Organization.
Yeah, which, can you believe that? I mean...
It's probably more than that. That's just
I'm guessing double.
Maybe.
I'm guessing double that. Because, there's going to be a lot of... some of those people, they don't want to go see the foreign doctor dude. They don't give a shit if they got their arm cut off. They're like, I'm no go hospital. Nope.
Yeah.
So, I'm guessing. And that's probably why they can't get a handle on it. Is it going to come down to the end of Outbreak, the movie Outbreak, where they just nuke a city? Or want to get it all over with?
Well, they say fruit bats are considered to be the natural host of the virus.
Of Ebola?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, the incubation period is 2 to 21 days.
So why did DARPA release fruit bats that had Ebola virus in the first place back in the 70s and 80s?
Don't know. But that's what this article says.
And didn't they say that AIDS came from monkeys too?
Yep, originally.
Yeah, it's like how killer bees is made too, so that's something there.
I've seen a swarm of killer bees when I was down in Florida. They were in my backyard in a tree, in a hollowed out trunk. And they were very, very aggressive bees. And you could tell that they were different than normal bees. They were larger by a factor of probably 3 than a normal bee. And they were very aggressive. They wouldn't let me come and go out my back door. I mean, and they were 50 yards away,
Between a friend of mine, for what we know with bees in the past, I know the basics. They were crossbred and put down in South America for basics with how those little buggers were. They were experimented on a little bit more even then, but it's like, tried to tame them, but it's like, who knows on that one. Getting back to the immigrants somehow.
Yeah. Lots of weird stuff going on.
You want a weird one?
Yeah, sure. I thought that there was going to be more kerfluffle over the whole refugee immigrant / biological hazard thing, but I guess you can only whoop an old dog so many times before it runs away, right?
Yeah, it's a concern for sure, but we'll see what happens on it in the next couple of days, because this is a developing story. I mean, right now,
40 minutes of rabbit holes. Here we go.
I don't know if enough people have been had time enough to get pissed off at it yet.
Okay.
A fly farm built in Cape Town as maggot meal replaces soy. The world's largest commercial fly farm, which will harvest maggots from about 8.5 billion of the insect housed in giant cages, is under construction near Cape Town. A project developers say is first step towards shaking up the global animal feed market. So they're building a facility down here that will produce 23.5 metric tons of insect-based protein, meals, and oils, and 50 tons of fertilizer a day. Isn't that interesting?
Wow.
They're taking something that is naturally occurring and turning it into fish and chicken farmers have already signed contracts to buy the feed because it's an alternative to soy and fish meal.
Nice.
The farm will take in 100 tons of organic waste, out-of-date food, uneaten food from restaurants, hotels, some animal manure, and some abattoir waste, which I don't know what that is, and recycle the nutrients. We copied the idea from Mother Nature.
Wait. They're going to mix this with poop?
To make the fertilizer, yeah.
Yeah, it's probably bad farm, maybe.
Yeah, we copied the idea from Mother Nature. In 15 years, it will be as normal to recycle your waste nutrients as it is to recycle your tin, your glass, or your plastic today. That's pretty cool.
Go green, baby.
I mean, that's pretty cool. The common housefly, black soldier fly, and bowflies, they all, will eat this waste that people are dumping there, and they get protein because I guess, look how many birds and stuff eat maggots and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, my little pockers love anything that makes it inside that cage, boy. They just eat it up.
Yeah,
Spidey falls on the floor. See ya, dude.
I mean, you see dehydrated ones all the time. I mean, sold as mealworms and stuff like that, too.
For bait and stuff, yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was pretty cool. Somebody just going back through nature.
This one ought to make you mad. My turn. My rabbit hole. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
This one ought to make you seriously mad, dude. The company responsible for spilling enough toxic chemicals into West Virginia's Elk River to spoil drinking water for 300,000 people for days has been fined $11,000 by the federal agency for 2 workplace safety violations related to the incident.
Wow.
11,000 people. $11,000. That's it. The Labor Department's Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, fined Freedom Industries $7,000 for improperly operating storage tanks at the crude MCHM chemical behind a diked wall that was not liquid tight, according to the Charleston Gazette. OSHA also fined Freedom Industries $4,000 for not having standing railings on an elevated platform at the Elk River facility.
Which had nothing to do with the spill.
No. Inspectors said both citations issued on July 3rd were serious, meaning the hazards posed to workers could cause accidents or illness that would likely result in death or serious physical damage. About 10,000 gallons, so that's not even $1 a gallon, 10,000 gallons of coal cleaning chemical MCHM, a moniker for 4-methyl methylcyclohexamethanol. Hexane methanol. Okay. Leaked on January 9th from one of Freedom Ministries' holding tanks through a diked wall into the Elk River. We all know about that. State authorities quickly inundated with complaints of stomach pains, rashes, and other maladies. Instituted a do-not-use order. Residents were told to avoid. We all know about that. Some 300,000 people in 9 counties were told not to drink the water for up to 10 days. And they got fined $11,000. OSHA also issued one other than tech. Please,
Sorry.
dude. Come on, man. Either that or just go ahead and hang up or something.
Okay, sorry.
That's all right, man.
I'll see you 2 later.
All right, man. Appreciate you calling in.
Bye.
See you. OSHA also issued a other than serious citation against Freedom Industries, charging the company with improperly labeling chemical storage tanks. The agency said one holding tank, though not the one that leaked in January, was labeled containing glycerin, though it actually held MCHM. Freedom Industries now has the opportunity to pay the fines and meet with OSHA to discuss the citations or appeal the Occupational Safety and Health Review Commission. The company did not respond to the Gazette when they asked for a comment. OSHA's investigation into the massive spill began the day after the leak was detected, and that was a couple days before they passed the law that said, don't worry about it, they're not going to do nothing to you. We got this covered. OSHA had started the examination of the site in November of 2009 as a part of a program that analyzed accidents that led to amputations, but the inspection was never performed, as OSHA officials realized the company was in the wrong industry classification for the program. Despite wreaking havoc on the state's top source of water, only 78 claims have been filed against Freedom Industries from the Charleston Daily Mail. That was their report. The low amount of claims surprised a federal bankruptcy court judge this week. Quoting, "It's amazing that there have not been an overwhelming number of spill claims," the judge said at a hearing Tuesday. "I don't know whether it's because they don't think there's enough money to pay the claims or there's not significant damage." The company filed for bankruptcy. Soon after the spill, it listed $10 million in assets and $10 million in liabilities at the time, zeroing out their books. Imagine that. End of story. 10 million in assets, 10 million in liabilities. Fined $11K.
Well, they'll need to file bankruptcy. They can't afford that.
They already did, dude.
Yeah. They'll need to do it again.
Zeroed out the books, and no, they're going to push that $11K off onto the taxpayers. You watch. Something will happen. They'll apply for a bond or something, a municipal bond, and make the city pay for it, of Charleston. You 300,000 bitchers, pay up. It's unbelievable, man.
Mm-hmm.
You should go over to that place on a weekend or something with a tape recorder and a camera and just try to get some Joey Bag of Donuts walking around working there, getting, hey, man, come here. Tell me what's really going on in here, dude. See if you can get some off the cuff. Because it's right up the road from you, yeah?
Yeah.
You'll be there in, an hour?
A little bit more.
It's just a suggestion. Just a suggestion.
Well, I don't think get in my way of my sheeple stuff on the weekend.
True. Oh, my God. A train carrying... I just saw this. Hang on. This just passed on the news line here on RT. A train carrying 1,300 migrants to U.S. derails in Mexico. A train carrying 1,300 migrants toward the United States has derailed in Oaxaca, Mexico, leaving everyone stranded in what could be a storm-related accident. According to Reuters, local officials stated that there have been 0 injuries. Holy crap, man, a train wreck with no injuries. The nationalities and ages of those on board is unclear at this point, but there has been a surge of unaccompanied minors making their way toward the U.S. over the last 9 months, leaving American officials debating their next move on border control. I thought their next move was to tell all the agents to go away. Didn't they give them like a 2-week pass or something?
Congress, Obama said today if Congress would hurry up and act, they'd have 20,000 new border agents out there next week.
I thought he was talking about the fence, man. What's he flip-flopping on that shit again?
No, both.
Oh, so it's just going to snap of a finger and poof, it's done.
Right, it's Congress's fault.
Genie in the bottle.
Mm-hmm.
All right, go ahead. Your turn, rabbit hole. You ready, Chuck?
Life in general, everybody I think should know. How I think on it, that we're souls, we're energy. We're here. Our bodies are containers, but our souls never die. They keep moving on. I think most people think I think that way. I believe you think that way too. Am I correct?
Yeah. So
how old would you be if you didn't know how old you are? Good question.
I'm not quite as pert as I was when I was 30, It's a little harder to get out of bed in the morning, unless Carl's going crazy. I think I feel I feel a little younger than 46. I'm having a hard time getting my head around that I'm going to be 46 in a couple of weeks.
And I'm not talking about your container. I'm talking about your soul. How old?
Well, I'm 12.
You don't know how many times you've been around, if that's what you believe.
Oh, yeah.
But in the souls, I believe in the souls moving on to other bodies as people are born and everything else. And if there's young souls and old souls, and I'm going to give you 9 signs that you're an old soul.
Right on. This ought to be good.
You tend to be a solitary loner because old souls are disinterested in the pursuits and interests of the people in their age groups.
Ding!
They find it dissatisfying to make friends with people they find it hard to relate to. The result is old souls tend to find themselves alone a lot of time. People just don't cut it for them. Number 2.
I try to be a people person, but people ruin it for me.
I know, exactly. I'd be more of a people person if they weren't people. But you love knowledge, wisdom, and truth. Yep, this seems a little grandiose and overly noble, but the old soul finds himself naturally gravitating towards the intellectual side of life. Old souls inherently understand that knowledge is power, wisdom is happiness, and truth is freedom. So why not seek after those things?
God damn, man, that's like you're hitting it out of the park. Keep going.
These pursuits are more meaningful to them than reading up on the latest gossip about Snooki's latest boyfriend or the latest football scores. You're spiritually inclined, and I don't mean religiously, spiritually. More emotional old souls tend to have sensitive and spiritual natures, overcoming the confines of the ego. Seeking enlightenment and fostering love and peace are the main pursuits of these young in body Mother Teresa's. To them, it seems the wisest, most fulfilling use of time. You understand the transience of life. Old souls are frequently plagued with reminders of not only their own mortality, but that of everything and everyone around them. This makes the old soul wary and at times withdrawn, but wisely dictates the way they live their lives. You're thoughtful and introspective. Old souls tend to think a lot about everything. Their ability to reflect and learn from their actions and those of others is their greatest teacher in life. And I've always said I like to learn from other people's mistakes, not my own.
Yes.
One reason why old souls feel so old at heart is because they have learned so many lessons through their own thought process and possess so much insight into life situations from their ability to quietly and carefully observe what's going on them around them.
My dad used to say, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Listen twice as much as you talk.
Absolutely. That's the oldest saying in the book. Number 6, you see the bigger picture. Rarely do old souls get lost in the superficial details of getting useless degrees, job promotion, boob jobs, and bigger TVs. Old souls have the tendency to look at life from a bird's eye view, seeing what is the most wise and meaningful way to approach life. When confronted with issues, old souls tend to see them as temporary and passing pains that merely serve to increase the amount of joy felt in the future. Consequently, old souls tend to have placid, stable natures as a result of their approach to life. Number 7, you aren't materialistic. Wealth, status, fame, and the latest version of the iPhone, they bore old souls. The old soul doesn't see...
I got my iPhone for free.
You don't have to be all 9 of them. The old soul doesn't see the purpose of pursuing things that can be easily taken away from them. Additionally, old souls have little time and interest for the short-lived things in life, as they bring little meaning or long-lasting fulfillment for them. This one's funny. You are a strange and socially maladaptive kid. This is not always the case, but many old souls exhibit odd signs of maturity at younger ages. Often these children are labeled as being precocious, introverted, or rebellious, failing to fit into the mainstream behaviors. Usually these children are extremely inquisitive and intelligent. Seeing the purposefulness of many things their teachers, parents, and peers say, and so either passively or aggressively resisting them. If you can talk to your child like he or she is an adult, you've probably got an old soul on your hands. And the last one, you just feel old. Before putting a name to what I felt, I experienced certain sensations of simply being an old person inside, just inside. The feelings that accompany being an old soul are usually a feeling of world weariness, mental tiredness, watchful patience, in detached calmness. Unfortunately, this can often be perceived as being aloof and cold, which is one of many old soul myths. So just as some people describe themselves as being young at heart, so too can young people be old at heart.
Old at soul.
I thought that was an interesting article.
Very good article, man. Very good article. Thank you. Welcome, Chuck, to the show, too, by the way. He sat there and listened patiently the whole time you were reading.
Hey, Chuck.
How's Frankie?
Hey, guys. How you doing tonight?
How's Frankie doing, brother?
He's doing okay. I think he's sleeping.
Outstanding. That means you can sleep, too. I can't believe you're on the freaking radio.
Yeah.
Hey, what's up with the high... Can you hear that hum in your audio?
I can hear it.
Can you hear that hum in your audio, Chuck?
The high-pitched whine.
Yeah.
It's a high-pitched whine?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like you got a bad ground or something floating around in there or something. Maybe something's not plugged all the way in.
Let me mute for a second.
Okay. Yeah, went right away. It's you, definitely. I'm glad Frankie's doing good, man. I hope Kim's doing good, too. I meant to ask about her, too. How's Kim doing? She's kicking right along, yeah?
Yeah, she's doing all right. Actually, I got my daughter with me here right now, too.
Oh, outstanding.
So, say hi to Caitlin.
Hi, Caitlin.
Hello.
I was listening to that whole thing about, being an old soul, and boy, that sounds awfully familiar, doesn't it?
You've got one on your hands, brother. I looked at that picture of your boy, and he's looking dead at that camera, and it's like, I know something you don't know.
And that was less than an hour after he was born, too. He was still in the warmer.
Yeah. He's got this little cracked smile on his face. It's not a big smile. It's kind of hard to see, but it's there. And then my eyes are just looking straight at the camera. And yeah, he's a good-looking kid, man. He's a really good-looking kid.
So, thank you. Well, it's a blessing. He looks like his mother, so,
I'm glad everything's going really well, too. I'm glad everybody come out of that with the, batting 1,000. And stop, dog. I told you 20 minutes. Go lay down.
Oh, somebody's puppy.
Yeah, she's up there scratching my leg and stuff. That hurt. Where was I? Oh, Frankie. Yeah. Anything else going on over there, man? I mean, how's the job going and stuff?
That's kind of hard, but I'm holding on to that thing for dear life.
Good. Are you just having difficulty doing the task because of your eyesight, or?
Well, yeah, well, you know what? I'll be honest with you. I mean, I'm leaving a little bit of blood on that gentleman's floor every single day, and
no kidding. Whoop. Uh-oh. Did Chuck drop? Oh, something happened to you, brother. You're still on the call, but your mic just went completely dead. So, I don't know what happened. Maybe you got a... Oh, nope. There, okay. It disconnected from him.
It's the black van that was at my house. It must have just drove down to North Carolina.
Yeah,
got his Skype off. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Wow, my Skype just went totally bad. Can you guys hear me now?
Is there an EMP? Did an EMP go off over there on the East Coast somewhere or something that we're not aware of? Did it not hit the RT feed yet? What the hell's going on?
I have no idea. It all of a sudden, popped up with one of those boxes explaining that there was a problem with the call, and then it looked like Lance was disconnected. And I was still connected. Then I was gone. And I had to rejoin.
Yeah, there's still that high pitched hum in there too. I wonder if you're having trouble with your internet. I wonder if there's something going on with your internet feed. But anyway,
I'm sorry if there is, guys. I mean, is it really bad?
No, it's tolerable. We'll go ahead and take it. It's tolerable.
It's definitely tolerable.
Yeah.
All right.
So I was asking you, anything else going on over there? You said you were leaving blood on the floor every night. I'm sorry to hear that, man. But sometimes you have to.
Can I ask what you're doing to be leaving blood on the floor every night?
Well, I've been
MMA or something.
No, it's just fabricating frames. Putting together, like double-plated glass, 3-inch thick pieces of glass and stuff like that. Cutting steel, cutting aluminum, doing stuff like that.
Custom-made doors and windows.
Yeah, that kind of thing. And but mostly for commercial use. Schools, I've done a few schools. Matter of fact, I actually did part of Caitlin's school recently.
Very cool.
But yeah, I mean, I'm bloody every day. So,
they make these things called stainless steel gloves that you could probably put on. it might be worth spending a little bit out of your first paycheck to get them. I mean, butchers
I'm sure
wear
he
them.
knows that.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, butchers wear them, and some, you know what I mean. They're like a stainless steel mesh. You can still feel your job and feel what you're doing, but it's going to stop that. You know, you probably still get some splinters from the aluminum and shit, but
yeah, well, I mean, some of it's hot pieces and all that hitting me in the face and everything else. I mean, I can't wear a complete mask regardless of the safety glasses, and I got to tell you that sharp metal goes right through most of your clothes. So
especially when it's hot.
Yeah, especially when it's hot. Yes.
Yeah. Don't worry, the wounds will become so calloused that the next time they hit them, it won't hurt them anymore. So it'll be all right.
I've had, but you don't want Chuck to be Chuck Ocelli human scar.
Yeah, that's for sure.
So, I know I've welding and stuff. I've had slag go down my boot and go through the toe of my shoe, and get stuck on the back of your shirt, and you didn't even see it go over the top of your head, and yeah, you wind up with scars and shit you don't even know.
Yeah, well, I'm just hoping that it'll toughen some of my skin up, and I'll just get over it. So that's my attitude.
Chicks dig scars, man. Hey, Mike SLC in the formerly from SLC in the chat room. I tried resetting the phones over here at UCY.TV, so why don't you give me a try one more time and then let me know in the chat room whether or not you got through. I don't know what's going on with Skype, but obviously it's having some kind of connection issues with Lance going down and Chuck going down. But try anyway. Mike, please give me a call and then let me know in the chat room if you don't make it through.
Well, there was some kind of separate issue going on with the phones I had with my show a couple of times in the past few weeks where people couldn't call in, and then I even tried it myself from a different phone, and it was telling me that the party was unavailable for some reason. So
very strange goings on last couple of weeks with Skype.
So, and the whole thing that you wanted to bring me in on to begin with was the whole immigration deal.
Yeah, I do want to get your take on that. I was just going to bounce back to that for real quick. Because we got about, 15, 16 minutes left, so.
Well, what's strange to me so far is that people from Guatemala, from a couple other places, let's just say in Central America that I've talked to, not Mexico, by the way. I haven't actually gotten too many people to talk to me from Mexico, but people that I just had contact with in general to begin with are giving me kind of strange answers on this, because I've been asking, and I've asked on a couple of different shows, and my own show even, what has been the signal here that has caused this very sudden exodus from these places. Like, we knew that there was a steady stream of illegals, but where in the world did the signal come from? Now, there's some people that have claimed that there were ads in papers and things like that, but I've asked them to produce them, and they can't. Now, oddly enough, some of the people that are from Honduras, from Guatemala, like I said, that I've spoken to, a couple of them face-to-face and a couple of them, through phone calls, are pretty much telling me a very strange tale, which is that that this is actually something that has been going on for a lot longer than I'm aware of, or than the American public is aware of. And that really the images of the children being dropped off at these centers and everything else are being used as a ploy to sort of get the public to have a great deal more sympathy for the illegals that are coming across.
You don't got time for that.
Well, I hear you, but this is what the problem is, man. This is what they're telling me, and these are people that don't talk to each other. They're telling me that basically you're being fooled, and the American public is being fooled about this. And
because they're all like 80% of them are asleep, dude, at the wheel even.
Well, yeah, but I can't get an answer as to what caused this, even from the people that live there. They can't seem to answer how this seemed to happen, and most of them are telling me that it's really not a new thing, that it's, it didn't suddenly happen, is what they're telling me essentially, is that this has been going on for quite a while, and these images are being put out there to evoke sympathy. And I
think it's having the opposite effect of that.
No, I'll add to it because I agree with it. I was just watching CNN, as I told you before, and there was a congressman that came on, and I think I can't remember if it was Rick, it was the governor of Texas or somebody else from down there,
No, the dude that was playing pool with Obama.
No.
They were talking about
pulling. They're pulling at the heartstrings.
Is that what they call that nowadays, Jimmy?
Well, no, there was a YouTube video. I swear to Christ, man, I saw it right before we went on the air.
Okay, well, this was live that I was watching right before.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'll shut up.
This was a live press conference that I was watching on CNN that they broke away to, and he was saying, look, he was playing the sympathy card. Look, what kind of a human being are you if you're going to turn these kids around back to, send them back to the war-torn, poverty-stricken, where's your humanity? So it feeds right into what Chuck is saying, that they're playing the sympathy card.
In broken English, weeks ago, this is what these guys were telling me, is that, that this is exactly what the operation is for, that this is just a big show.
Are they forgetting to tell the American people that we're probably the ones down there instigating the fucking war in their country that made it war-torn to begin with?
Yeah, what a
shock.
They
were the ones that stabbed them with the vaccines, that gave them the scabies and the H1N1 and the smallpox and whatever the hell else they got coming over here.
Well, I mean,
our vaccination program was the ones that laid them down and gave them the shit.
Their child prostitution is real big down there. Gang rapes are real big down there. So, I mean, for them to ship their kids out, that's why they're quote unquote getting them out of the country, is for those dangers.
I forgot your kid was listening, Chuck. I'm sorry for running off at the mouth with all the F-bombs and whatever.
No, she can handle it.
Oh, okay.
She can handle it. She's 15 and quite often speaks and thinks like me, so don't worry about it too much.
I'm sure her Facebook friends use the same words, because my daughter.
Yeah, but still, I gotta kind of curb my enthusiasm.
The immigrant thing, the people coming in.
Yeah, Kim, is that you?
For us to add more people to Iraq.
You'd say that one more time?
I said, I think, this is Kim. Hi, Jimmy. And Lance.
Hello. I'm glad you're feeling well.
Thank you. I think this all these immigrants coming in is more of a smokescreen, so we don't realize how many troops we're actually filtering into Iraq. That's what I think.
It's a distraction, right?
But I think the stories in mainstream media be looking somewhere else for the real story.
We're paying all this attention to that. Meanwhile, we're filtering in more and more troops to take care of Iraq. That's what I think.
But you don't think that that these kids coming in with all the different plethora of bugs and viruses and stuff, you don't think that's, is that part of the smokescreen?
No, I think that's true, but I think we're focusing all the attention on that so they can get away with doing something else while we're not paying attention.
Well, you're right, because they do have a large buildup of military hardware in the Black Sea that they've had since the war ended, whatever the 10-year incursion was. But like we said a couple weeks ago, when they first started floating in there, they only got, unless they are from a bordering nation that's on the Black Sea, they only got 21 days to screw around in there, and then they got to get out. And they got to stay gone for at least a month before they can be let back in. So.
Well, right, and it also provides a convenient pool, though, for recruitment, because there are less and less individuals that are willing to enlist at this point. So I think that as we head into, Iraq Part 3, 4, I don't know, I lost count, as we head into that, you do have that whole, idea of allowing guys to join the services so that they can earn their citizenship, and like you said, of course,
become cannon fodder.
Yeah, become cannon fodder, and it's hey, look, it's a whole lot more cost effective. You don't have to pay for the funerals if they don't finish their enlistment. You don't have to take care of them at all. You just ship them back and then send the parents a bill, right, to Guatemala or wherever the hell else, right? So, isn't that timing awfully coincidental? That's the way I see it anyway, is that really what we need is more bodies to put in boots. And that's what I think this is going to be.
The only thing that I'm really concerned about, and the reason that I'm seriously concerned about this whole bug issue, is because of what we've been hearing over the last, how long has it been, Lance? At least 4 months from Potter Blog, the continuing purchase of health-related stuff. I mean, they've got enough tents and shit to set up little, all over the goddamn United States, and they've been staging this crap all over the United States for the last 4 months. It's like they've been prepping for this.
Yeah, but there's been preparations before for these pandemics, that were supposed to come that didn't quite arrive.
No. I mean, besides the pandemic thing, you heard it on the one I played earlier. They ordered 1 million freaking bottles of shampoo, like they knew these people were fucking coming. You know what I mean? Like this was set up.
Oh yeah. But that's my point here is that look, logically, okay, if you were trying to create a bigger pool for people that you could recruit, for people that you could throw away, wouldn't that be awfully convenient? Just
go ahead.
Well, it just seems to me that that's exactly what it's being timed for. Of course, this is well ahead of the, so-called ISIS, ISL, whatever the hell they're calling themselves, the guys that used to work for us, the artists formerly known as the CIA agents that we were paying for, right? All those people, didn't start creating the trouble where we're going to have to drop more boots back on the ground into another part of sand, that nobody can really identify, and get themselves, completely involved in the Sunni Shiite, squabbles that have been going on for centuries, right? This is what it seems like to me, is that's exactly what it's for. Now, as far as this preparation for the, for the influx of disease, this has happened various times, and usually with a fizzle. I mean, there was a bunch of, vaccines that were ordered that they demanded be created and were shipped to different government agencies a few years ago, and we still didn't see these giant outbreaks that are supposed to have already happened. And these things have a shelf life. So I don't know necessarily that that's connected to it. But of course it's a concern. But it's always a concern. I mean, think about how dangerous that Ebola thing is that you were talking about so many times. I mean, if that just starts to really land here, I mean, think about the amount of damage that'll do to a densely populated state that we have here.
The last serious outbreak of H1N1 killed 20,000 people, man.
Yeah, but
that was probably 5 years ago, Lance? 6 years ago, 2000. I think it was right around the crash of Wall Street, around 2008, something like that. I'm not exactly sure, but it killed 20,000 people, man. That's nothing to sneeze at.
Well, I'm just
saying,
saying,
Ebola's only killed 400, 500. Lance, where'd you go?
Sorry, I was having a coughing fit.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. It was 887 cases. I don't remember from the story how many it died.
So it's probably killed 700 and something, or 500 and something, I'm guessing. Because the mortality rate's 70%, or a little over 70%. So.
But where's the scourge of SARS? Where's the scourge of MERS? Where's the scourge of, you know what I'm saying? It's not out of control. When you look at it comparatively to a lot of other diseases and what kills people, I mean, it's debatable. But the thing is that when you're talking about these government agencies ordering up all these vaccines and everything, it happens from time to time, and sometimes with good reason and sometimes with seemingly no reason, except that they planned something that they couldn't quite pull off, in my opinion.
Well, they had to send 20,000 vials down to Lackland to cover these kids, or 100,000 vials or something like that. So that automatically dipped a shortage into the flu season stockpile, right? So, I mean, that's why they're scrambling. They're trying to get all this stuff laid out because they know that something's coming, man. I swear to Christ, man, I can feel this like I can feel a healthy shit coming on. You know what I mean? There is going to be an outbreak of something in this country in the next, I'm going to give it 60 days. I bet you. I'll bet you a donut, man. I'll bet you a donut. I'll bet you a Shipley's Boudin.
Well, I'm not going to even take the bet because I'm on your side anyway.
Yeah.
I don't think it's related to these vaccines, though. I think we're going to see something.
No, it's not related to the vaccines. It's related to these goddamn kids. It's related to these immigrants coming across, not these refugees, these immigrants coming across this country, because they're sending them out after they get after they get them into the FEMA camp and they make sure that they cough on a bunch of other people while they're in the FEMA camp, then they look through the register of other immigrants that are in the country, right? And they find out if they've got any family, and then they just ship them off to that family so they can go cough on all of them and then go to school and cough on all of everybody at the school. And that's what's going to happen, brother. That's what's going to happen because they've already sent some of them out to family in the country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, plus there were, I heard that there were also mass drops in a couple of interesting areas that just seemed to have a population that was friendly to them as well, that wasn't even just directly to family members. But there's a lot of stuff going around about this, and I still cannot get the answer, though, as to whether this is an influx or whether this is just business as usual and we're just starting to hear about it now. I'm not sure.
I don't know. Hecty said that too, or Tech. I'm sorry, Tech. Hey, man, I didn't mean to bitch at you about the whole keyboard thing, brother, but it was seriously loud, man. And I don't know if it's just my headphones or whatever. I don't know how it was going out over the air, but whatever.
No, but he was right. He said it'd been going on for a while, and that's what Chuck surmised at the beginning.
Yeah, for years. But I haven't heard about airplane loads full of these fucking people coming in here, or them being shipped off. Where was all the big people bitching over in California like they were a little bit ago in Marietta? If this has been going on for 2 years, why are those people just now all up in arms about it? Because they just now saw the buses coming over.
I mean, why doesn't wet foot, dry foot apply to them?
What's that?
When you swim over from Cuba and once you hit Miami or once you hit Florida, wet foot, dry foot. Yeah, once you get a dry foot on the land, I mean that's what it's called, wet foot, dry foot.
They got to catch you on the boat if they're going to deport you. If you make it to the shore, then you get the chance to stay.
Right.
As long as you pass a background check and
ship or whatever like that. So.
Interesting times, boys.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it just seems to me as though there has been a steady flow that has been really ignored for the most part. There's some people that complain about it from time to time, but, the timing of it being spotlighted is interesting to me. But at the same time, I'm not sure exactly how much of it, again, is, just business as usual and how much of it really is an influx. It looks like, and, just like you're saying, I mean, you've never heard about plane loads and bus loads and, but then again, how many people are really aware of how many people trickle over that border every single day that have to walk through Arizona, that got to swim through, those straits and everything else. There's a lot more of that going on than I think people are aware of anyhow.
Chuck, I'll go as far to say I don't think it'll be long before there's a higher Hispanic population. Keep in mind, they're quiet. They're behind the scenes. They're under the radar. They're not on all the TV.
There's more Hispanics here than there are black people now.
Thank you. I know that.
Oh, guaranteed.
That happened back in like 07.
There will be a time where, because of the numbers that they procreate at, which we saw a video on today, there will be a time where there's more Hispanic, Latino, South American, that Central American, race.
White people are on
in America.
Because we don't have the reproduction rate.
Yeah, we only have the 1.3.
Yeah,
and for the most part, let's be honest, because there is no documentation on them, it's impossible to count.
Correct.
You're looking at people that try and keep very, very low profiles. They don't want to get themselves in trouble. They don't want to call attention to themselves. So realistically, I don't think any of us has a really good handle on the types of numbers that are coming in.
All right, guys. Talking right to the end, y'all.
Peace and love.
Yeah, thanks for calling in, Chuck. I appreciate you, man. Thanks, Lance. You're my brother from another brother. I love you, brother. I'm glad you're back to 100%, 99, 98, something like that. Everybody hang out.
95.
Anti-Media Radio's next with Nick Burnaby. UCY.TV, the only place to be for alternative news. Peace, people.